Hello, everyone. My name is Shahzeeb. So to start off this talk, what we're going to talk about is like web application development and how we can, add observability to it. So just to start off, a bit about myself. I am Shahzeeb, as I told you. I work with Grafana Labs as a senior software developer. How many of you have used Grafana? Okay, good audience. Okay. So I've been working with like Grafana for almost 2 years, and overall I have like over 8 years of work experience among deployment, development, and integrations. And I have like developed the Docker Desktop extension for Grafana Cloud. So you have been hearing a lot about Docker Desktop extensions. They're really cool. So we also have developed at Grafana developed an extension that lets you connect easily Docker Desktop to Grafana Cloud. And I have like over 5 years of web development experience as well, like developing in React, Node.js, and many other technologies. And I'm from Pakistan, which is around 8,000 miles away from here, around a 12-hour time difference. So back home, it's like at least midnight for me. And I work remotely with Grafana. So just a fun fact, like at Grafana, we are a remote-first company. We have like 50 plus different countries working with us. And each country has like a different culture, and all cultures have any fun fact. So a fun fact about my country, 90% of my family thinks I'm unemployed because I work from home. Because working remotely is not really a concept there. But we are getting there. Okay, moving ahead, like quickly, let's going through the agenda, what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about why observability is important in web applications. I'm going to show you my web application setup with Docker Desktop. We're going to connect Docker Desktop with Grafana Cloud, enable some additional Grafana integrations through the extension, and then also see how we can load test this application with this combination of Grafana and Docker Desktop. And at the end, we're going to like have a holistic view of how our whole environment is set up and what we can do more with it. So quickly, this is not just here to just show you what's coming up. I'm not going to talk about this right now. We're going to build it piece by piece, step by step. But this is just like a preview of what's coming up. OK, so why observability is important in web applications? So just going to quote some like very popular, very widely used facts around the industry to show this importance. Is like that Google found like 0.5-second delay causes a 20% decrease in repeat traffic. And that also persisted when like the people went away. Similarly, Amazon found that like every 100 milliseconds slower their site loaded, they lost 1% in revenue. And in their revenue, I'm pretty sure it's billions right now. And also Walmart also found that like based on their like web page loading performance, their conversion rates vary a lot. So all three of these are like talking about web applications, Google Search, Amazon, and then Walmart. And they tell how significant it is to make sure that your application is always up and running and it's performing at its optimal level, which can be done through observability. So generally, like all over the world, like how our application development workflow works is that we do design, we do development, we do testing, we do go live, and then once everything is live, a support manager comes in and thinks about how I'm going to observe this thing. This is not the way we should do it right now because of all the tools that we have. So our purpose is to move this observability part back into the development stage so that you have the tools that you can develop all your monitoring infrastructure alongside your application development as well. So that's basically what I'm going to show you today, that how you can do that with Docker Desktop and the Grafana Cloud extension. So quickly, our web application is a very simple web application running inside Docker Desktop. I have a React front end, a Go backend, MySQL database, and it's all being served through an Nginx web proxy. So let me just quickly show you in terms of like, so this is going to be like more of a demo and less of slides. So let's just start. OK, so again, like everybody's talking about Compose at this conference as well, so I have a Compose file as well. It defines a Go backend, a database MySQL, React frontend, and a proxy. I'm not going to go in details because like I'm pretty sure you have heard a lot about Compose files already. So I'm just going to get my application up with Docker Compose -t. So it says that all my containers are running. And if I go to my web application, which is now at localhost port 80, it's running. So it's a very simple React web app. It allows you to do voting. You can reset it. You can do voting again. And you can see like just a list that when was the last person voted, just for the purpose of testing. OK, so super simple web app, super simple setup with Docker Desktop. Moving ahead. So now we connect this application to Grafana. And we can do it like, so Grafana is like a very popular open source software. It has been around as open source software for many years, but like generally people have been having like difficulties of connecting, getting your data to Grafana. So like we have over the years made it super easy, and this is one of the easiest ways to connect your application to Grafana and start sending metrics and monitor anything. So we will just install our Grafana desktop extension. It will start sending metrics to the Grafana Cloud. So let's see how we can do that. So Grafana Cloud has a very generous free tier. If you want to sign up, you can just go sign up, create a free account. You can log in through Google, GitHub, anything, or just create a new account. So once you have your Grafana Cloud set up, you will be welcomed with an instance like this. So here you have we have a section called infrastructure integrations, which you can just easily access by just typing add new connection here. So this is like our connections page is like a holistic page where you can just connect Grafana to almost any data source in the world, and it provides you many different ways. So for example, if I just saw in search connections, I talk about Docker. So we have like two integrations. One is for the Docker engine itself, and one is for the Docker desktop specifically, which allows you to connect this easily. So let's start with the Docker desktop integration. So it says that like before installing this Docker desktop integration, you have to install the Grafana Cloud extension. So if I go to my Docker desktop, and I just go in the extensions marketplace and browse, or even I can use the top search bar and search for Grafana. And if I go in extensions, you can see the Grafana Cloud extension there. So it's already installed. I'm just going to open it. So here, you have to go back to Grafana Cloud to basically get your credentials and put them here. So I press install. And then it's asking me either to create a new API token or like use an existing API token. Let's just create a new one. I would say like DockerCon token, and then create it. And then it has generated an API key, and it has given me the connection variables that I need to put in there. So either I can copy paste them, or we have a very quick shortcut which just opens it up directly in Grafana Cloud. And you click connect to Grafana Cloud, and just in a few seconds, it will start sending to Grafana Cloud. Okay. So in the next step, we have to test the connection. It will let you know that, okay, the agent is now sending all the metrics from Docker desktop to your machine. And then we can, so just to talk a bit about the UI, in the UI, we have a view dashboards button. We can check the status again. We can check the logs of the Grafana agent, which is basically the container that is sending all your metrics to cloud. And we can also check our configuration that is used to configure integrations, which I will talk about further. Okay, so I click on View Dashboards, and I can see that like I have a number of dashboards, but the most important ones, I'll just open up Docker Overview, Docker Logs, and Node Overview. So this is basically giving you, this is a pre-built dashboard that's giving you metrics around the current containers running inside your Docker desktop machine. So I have 6 containers, 6 images. I can see CPU utilization and a lot of other metrics. So our infrastructure integrations are basically a starting point. It has pre-built dashboards that are super cool already, but you can easily edit them, modify them, add anything you want to them. And if I go to the Docker Logs dashboard, I can see that I'm collecting the log files as well from all the containers. I can see the complete log file, see the errors, see the warnings, and everything like that. And then I can also monitor the actual Linux virtual machine, which is actually running inside Docker desktop. So your Docker engine does not actually run on your machine. It runs inside a Linux virtual machine, which is part of Docker desktop. So these are metrics for that Linux virtual machine. OK, moving ahead. So now we saw that like we installed Docker desktop. We got 2 integrations out of the box, Docker and Linux. But we can also enable more infrastructure integrations to monitor more aspects of our web application. So moving ahead, let's just see how we can monitor more parts of this application. So I will be installing a Go integration, an Nginx integration, and a MySQL integration to actually monitor all these 3 components individually as well. So how can I do that? I just open up a new tab, again from the top, add new connection. Search for Nginx, and then it basically, so it gives you the option to at least run the Grafana agent. In our case, our Grafana agent is already running inside our Docker desktop application, so we can actually skip that, and we can come directly to this part here. So this is a prerequisite. basically you have to do some configuration for Nginx in order to for it to show you logs in this form. Then our integrations work. But I have already configured that, so I will just go ahead and follow the integration snippet that it shows me to enable the integration. So if I write my localhost name here, it gives me this job snippet that it says that insert in the lines according to environment. But this integration actually works by like looking at the log files. And through my Docker dashboard, I am already collecting the log file of Nginx, so I can just directly open up this dashboard. So I will just filter by container, look at the proxy container, and I can see that it's showing me the metrics, different metrics for Nginx container. Like total requests are 217K because I've been testing it since morning, and different HTTP status for 244 requests and some other requests like that. So that's Nginx. Now we move on to another integration. So now we can basically go again, add new connection. We will search for the MySQL integration. And then again, MySQL integration has some prerequisites. You have to create a user, a read-only user, do some specific configurations. It's all in the documentation. It's all in the UI as well. You have to add your instance name, which is generally the host name of your system, but like it can be anything to basically uniquely identify this. So I call it Docker Desktop. Again, I want all the metrics, so it gives me a simplified configuration. So now it says that below integrations, you have to add this snippet in order to enable this integration. So this configuration is basically my Grafana agents configuration, which is available here. So if I open up the configuration, I can see there's an integration section, and like 3 of the integrations are already enabled: CAdvisor, agent, and node exporter. So I can now enable the other integration as well. So I will just copy a snippet that I already have, which has the appropriate DB username passwords, just to save time. This one. Okay, copy it here. You have to just be careful about the indentations, but everything should be fine. So once I save the configuration, it restarts the Grafana agent with the new configuration that you have put in, and pretty soon you should start receiving metrics for this integration as well. One more thing that I forgot is that it's in the documentation as well, but when you install any extension, it basically installs containers inside Docker Desktop. And those containers usually does not have access to your base machine's network ports. So what you have to do is just execute this command, docker network connect to bridge, the Docker Desktop extension. So it actually connects our agent extension to the network of your machine. Then you can access all the ports of your machine and monitor any metrics that you want. Okay. So let's go ahead and install our dashboards for MySQL. And let's go to MySQL because I haven't enabled the logs integration yet, just for the sake of time. So here, I can see that I can see my all my MySQL metrics as well. So it shows me current queries per second, my thread activity, my different all these different metrics that are available in the dashboard. So very easily, I have enabled observability for another component of my integration. Again, one last one. We will go and enable the Go integration. So again, add new connection. I go to Go. And then again for Go, I have some prerequisites on how to enable the Go exporter to start exposing Prometheus metrics, which I have already done. As you can see that in my application, in the /metrics part, my Go application is already emitting the metrics in a Prometheus-style format that the integration is expecting. So all I need to do is just ask the agent to scrape this endpoint in order to get all those metrics and send to Grafana Cloud. Okay. So I'm just going to copy the complete configuration I have here. So we move ahead. Docker Desktop. Okay. And pretty soon, now we should also have the metrics for Golang. So I'm just going to skip the test connection part and go directly to my dashboard. Okay, so job should be integrations Go, and then should be Docker Desktop. Okay, so just to line them up, just see, says Unix and go runtime metrics. So I have actually, through this one extension, I have basically now 5 different dashboards through which I can see all the different aspects of my application. I can see the Linux VM, I can see the Nginx metrics, I can see the MySQL metrics, as well as I can see the Go runtime metrics as well. Okay, so going back to our point, so this, so now we have like enabled dashboards as well. I haven't gone into alerts, but like alerts is also a very big part of Grafana, which basically we provide pre-built alerts with all of our integrations that basically trigger and send you different alarms if any of your metrics go haywire. And you can also write custom alerts and add new alerts to these integrations as well. Okay, so now that we have like done all the monitoring part, we can also go ahead and look at a very another very useful tool that is in Grafana Cloud that is called K6 performance testing, and see how we can just through the CLI, through some simple test cases, how we can load test our application. Okay. So we will install the K6 testing agent in our machine. We will connect it to Grafana Cloud, and then we will load this application. So moving back to Grafana Cloud, I just open up a new tab again. Just making sure my metrics are coming in. Yes, they are. Fine. So again, search from the top. You can search for performance testing, and then it will open up the K6 Grafana Cloud console. So here, you can create a new project. I can give it a name, web app, DockerCon 2023, and create this project. And then once I've created this project, it has, it says that you don't have any tests created yet, so let's just start testing. And the first step, which I already done, is to install the K6 agent. So the K6 agent is available on Mac, Linux, Windows, and it gives you all the instructions on how to set it up, then authenticate it with your cloud instance. And then basically, it also lets you know how that you can, just create a simple K6 testing script. It's a very simple JavaScript syntax that you can use to write all kinds of tests, from direct API requests all the way up to browser-based Selenium type tests. Okay, then it says that, okay, run a test. So let's go back to our code repository. And here I do have 3 different tests. So let's just open test1.js. So since I've created a new project, I just want to make sure that I have the correct project ID inside it. So I'll just copy this project ID, and I have set it up in my environment file, and just put it here. Okay. Okay, so now I am ready to run my web application test. So let's just go through this test script first. It basically says that, I have a virtual user. So virtual user is, let me just, expand it. Okay, so virtual user is basically one instance of your tester. So 100 virtual users will mean, this application will run with simultaneous 100 requests at your application. You can have maximum duration, that how much time do you want this test to run, which I have set to 10 seconds. And then you can you name your test, and then basically you define your test. So in my test, I'm just opening the localhost app at port 80 and then sleeping for 1 second. So let's now run it. Okay, so the command, if you can see, it's a bit down here. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's K6 run --out cloud, and then the test path to the test. So K6 run --out cloud means that I want to run this tests locally on my machine and then send all the results back to cloud. There is another mode where you can actually run the tests from the cloud as well. But that would require your app to be hosted somewhere public through which the Grafana servers can access it, and they will run the test directly from the cloud. But since my app is on my local system right now, I will just test this run locally. So I press enter, and then it starts sending requests and testing your app, as you have said. Okay, so it has given me these outputs in CLI, and it has told me that it was able to generate 1,000 requests and out of all of them completed successfully without any interruptions. But since we have sent this report to the cloud as well, we can use the Grafana Cloud UI to see them in a much better way. So I go back to my projects. I see this web app DockerCon 2023. Let me see if it has sent it to the correct project. Let me just see. Project ID. Just 1 second. So I have the correct project ID. Should be this. It should be saved and then run it again. You see. Curse of live demos, but just 1 second, bear with me. Anyway, we should be okay. Let's just create a new project and set up the K6 client again. 2023-1. Create new project. Start testing. Authenticate. Okay. Let me log into the cloud again. Logged in successfully, and now I have this new project ID. Let me put it directly into the test and then run it again. Fingers crossed, this time it should run and send the results to cloud. Let's see. Okay, let's see, run our test and then go to. Okay, seemed to work. So now we have this open web app test here. It tells you that it has finished. It has a lot of useful metrics that you can see. It still told us that it made 1K requests, how much was the average response time for each request, how many failed, and everything like that. So this was like a very basic, simple test that I used to just open my web app. We can do a more complex test as well. For example, like this is a backend stress test where basically I'm just accessing all the backend APIs directly. So let me just paste my project ID. And you can see that like what my test does is, it's like very high. It basically calls the add vote API, it calls the count vote API, and then it calls the get votes API, and then sleeps for 1 second. Again, I can just run it for a shorter duration. I will run test2.js. And then I will have the backend stress test report in my browser. Go back, see here. Okay, I have this here as well. Okay, and then again, one last more complex test, which is a Selenium browser-based test, which basically opens up the web app, finds the thumb up icon and clicks on it and tests it out. Okay, again, I'll run it for just a short duration, 5 seconds, 10 virtual users, and just give it the correct project ID, and then run it here. Okay, it says that number of iterations can be less than your virtual users. Let's just do 2 virtual users. Okay, so that was very quick because only 2 users, and they just opened up the app, clicked on all the buttons, and that's fine. Go back, and you see your front-end stress test here as well, with all the different, metric. But now the most interesting thing of this setup is that we have this testing application, we have Docker Desktop for local app development, we have Grafana for observability, but now we can run it all this together. For example, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let's go here, let's just create a very big test, 1,000 virtual units, run it for like 30 seconds or so, and let's just start it. So right now, only your CLI is telling you what's going on with your app, but now you have, through Grafana Cloud, through the integrations Docker Desktop, you can see all these different metrics runtime. How much CPU is it taking? What's the performance of your Nginx server as the requests increase? how many 500 errors are you getting? Like how is your system actually behaving based on your front-end tests? For example, like if I look at the MySQL integration, I can see like how efficient or inefficient my queries are, how much query per second they are performing the load on my system, and then using these, I can also optimize my app and make sure that they perform, they behave to the load test correctly. Similarly, you can also monitor like the go runtime metrics together as well. And again, okay, so let's just increase the load a bit and make sure it fails this time. So I'll just do the backend stress test with like a 10,000 virtual users, and then for 10 seconds. I just want to make it fail, but let's see. Just a quick note, this used to fail a lot, but like last Docker desktop update, they have actually made some very good CPU optimizations, and it's taking me a lot of VUs to actually make it fail. But yeah, I can see that like there are a lot of requests failing, so let's see. So let's see how our system is behaving. Let's go to Nginx. Yeah, I can see like some 500s are popping up. So you can increase the metrics, test the limits of your app, optimize it, make it work under more pressure, and then look at all these metrics all together. So at the very start, we talked about having your observability development environment right next to your development environment. So this is actually it. So this is basically, if I go back to my slides, so this whole left section on your site, Docker desktop, all your applications you're doing development, is basically your development environment. And all this side on the right, Grafana Cloud dashboards, is your observability development environment. So you can use this same environment. You can work on the dashboards. You can add new panels. You can add new metrics in your app and create new panels for them, and basically prepare all this monitoring environment before even going live. So all you will need to do when you go live is switch the data sources for these dashboards to actual production metrics, and the production metrics will start coming in. So again, I can see like, okay. Yep. So you have like these dashboards, you have these test reports, you have the extension, and you can test it all out. Okay, so moving ahead. So it basically, this whole setup completes your whole life cycle, which is develop through Docker Desktop, and then observe through Grafana, and finally load test through K6. And this is like a whole cycle where you can actually, you don't have to rely on single person unit tests. You can actually do a lot more testing, make your app a lot more robust, make it a lot more observable right at the development stage before going live. So by using this Grafana extension, you can actually gain access to like 80 plus different infrastructure integrations. So Docker Desktop, Nginx were like a few of them, but if you go to add new connection, you can see we have like around 80 different technologies that we integrate with. All of them have like very simple to use instructions that you can just try to set them up. And each one of them, most of them, come with a Docker container that you can directly deploy inside your Docker desktop, start testing with it, start observing it, and trying it out. So, and lastly, so talking about the whole Docker desktop extension ecosystem, which is actually one of the main topics here in DockerCon as well. So this has actually benefited me personally and us a lot as well. So right now, if you see my Docker desktop instance, I have these 5 different extensions installed. I have the Nginx extension installed through which I can easily configure my Nginx web server, change its configuration and stuff. I have the resource usage one, which actually gives me more graphs to look at. And then I have the log explorer and the very useful Docker debugs tool, which I actually just tried out after the keynote, which is very awesome. Yeah. So it is actually very awesome. So the problem that they were showing, no ping, no if config, I have like faced it like 10, 15 different times. But yeah, it's great that they have it now. Again, building an extension is also, they have like super documentation. We actually, when we started it out, it was like they were very helpful in guiding us as well. We posted our Grafana Cloud extension, I think around like 6 months ago in the marketplace. It has now over 13,000 downloads. So that also tells you the power of like having your extension or exposure. And it's basically free for anyone. So we wrote it officially through Grafana Cloud, but anyone can contribute any extension to Docker Desktop, and it will start showing up, and it will help out other users. So just to round it up, what we learned how to run a web app using Docker Desktop and using Compose. We learned how to install Grafana Docker Desktop extension and use it to monitor our metrics. We enabled other infrastructure integrations to monitor other parts of our apps. And we also finally saw how we can load test using Grafana K6 and get all the valuable insights right in our local development environment. So this, the code that I was showing you, it is in a GitHub repository. I have put it up in a GitHub repository, which is public, and I will try to share the links. Some relevant links is Docker Desktop, like we have a blog post about this extension as well. Docker has a blog post about this extension as well. So a lot of helpful material around the internet on how to use this, and eventually you have Grafana Cloud support as well, where you can submit ticket, reach out to us, or just reach out to me on the LinkedIn as well if something doesn't work. At a very last note, thanks a lot for the Docker team, Ajit, Amy, and Benjamin. They helped us a lot in creating this whole Docker Desktop extension and testing it out. And I think that's it. Thank you. I had to speed it up a bit because last week I did the same talk in my company and it went for like 60 minutes. So that's why I had to speed it up a little bit. But yeah, but we can revisit any part that you want, or if you have any questions, I'm looking forward to hear it. So hopefully you guys will check out Grafana Cloud, check out Docker Desktop extension, and use it in your products. Okay, thank you.